It has been a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day at the Denver Zoo. The zoo evacuated this afternoon when someone threatened to bring a plane down there. Denver police say they quickly determined that threat was not credible, but by that time the zoo had cleared out all of its visitors and staff. That afternoon mess followed the announcement that the zoo is losing two of its most popular animals. The Denver Zoo tried to spin the loss of the zoo's two polar bears as a temporary departure, but there's nothing to suggest Cranberry and Lee will ever return to Denver, and no timeline for other bears.
We've been trying here. They've had opportunities to try and breed for the last 6 or 7 years, and we haven't been successful, and so we're going to give them opportunities with other bears.
The breeding of America's 44 polar bears in zoos are directed by a national organization and one expert in Detroit who tries to pick pairs. Cranberry goes to the Alaska Zoo, where there's a lonely male without a mate awaiting. Lee is going to the Columbus Zoo, where twin females are looking for love. Get your mind out of the gutter. This is a bear story. Reading between the lines of the Denver Zoo's cheery-sounding announcement, it is clear that the decades-old polar bear exhibit here is also problematic. The zoo acknowledges it's going to need to build a new one to get polar bears back.
We're looking to bring polar bears back sometime in the near future, but we need to look at what that design is, what that cost is, and how we can seek the funding in order to support that new exhibit for them.
So the Denver Zoo will be left without polar bears for the first time in 80 years, with no promise that they'll return. If you would like to read more about this expert in Detroit who holds the lives and the love lives of America's polar bears in her hands, we have a link to an article on the next Facebook page. The Coloradan accusing Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh has turned over the names of 20 possible witnesses to the FBI, but her attorney says they have no indication the FBI is actually going to call any of these people. John Clune, who is the lawyer representing Debbie Ramirez of Boulder, tweeted this afternoon that their conversation with the FBI lasted more than 2 hours over the weekend. Clune says they're concerned that the FBI is not conducting or is not being allowed to conduct a serious investigation. Ramirez, as you know, has claimed without corroboration that Brett Kavanaugh pulled down his pants and exposed himself to her at Yale in the 1980s. Amazon says it's going to raise its minimum wage to $15 an hour starting next month. That includes its Thornton and Aurora locations. But let's hold off on the high fives, at least until we stop and think about who this really benefits. Here's Jordan Chavez.
All right, math time. Exactly how much would you make in a year if you make $15 an hour? Let's say you work 40 hours a week and you work 52 weeks in a year. You would get...
If you're making $15 an hour, you're making $30,000 a year.
Okay, dude, I was going to get to that. Sheesh. Anyway, why is Amazon willing to dish out more money? Well, if you ask Jack Strauss, an economist at the University of Denver, it mostly has to do with the employees they hire.
Higher wages will attract better workers, right?
Right, says Henry Ford, who used the same idea in 1914 when he raised his workers' pay to $5 daily.
Because he noticed that higher pay attracted better workers, reduced turnover, and Ford's output increased.
Basically, it's cheaper for Amazon to retain than retrain, especially during seasonal work, which is almost here. Right.
So they're going to have no problem attracting good quality workers for Christmas time so everybody gets their Santa gifts on time.
There's also that whole low unemployment rate thing, which means employers now have to compete for employees. And one way you win? Paying higher wages. For Next, I'm Jordan Chavez.
Jack says that Amazon's move could influence other companies to raise wages. So that's encouraging for those companies' employees, but it's less so for small business owners who can't keep pace with the wages set by the giants, and for the employees who like working for those mom and pop shops. Every election season is a throwback to elementary school, and not just in terms of the juvenile behavior. It is about knowing your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s. Our Marshall Zellinger can't pass up a good spelling lesson to help us understand what's on our ballot.
What better way to explain ballot issues in the lettering and numbering system than with letters and numbers? The owner of this Denver garage has quite the collection, and let me borrow it to explain the differences between amendments, propositions, letters, and numbers. We went to the Deputy Secretary of State for some help.
An amendment amends the Colorado Constitution. Proposition will change the statutes.
Consider an amendment more set in stone, harder to change. Passing an amendment, though, requires 55% of the vote.
The legislature can't change an amendment. An amendment can only be changed by the people.
Propositions change state statute, which state lawmakers can change in future legislative sessions. These need 50% plus 1 to pass.
The legislature, as times change, can change the language that's done in a proposition. They cannot ever change anything done in an amendment.
What about the number or letter? The number means what you're voting on came from citizens collecting signatures. The letter means it was referred to us to vote on by state lawmakers at the Capitol.
We start on V, then we have W, X, Y, Z, and it comes around to A.
And when we hit letter Z, like we do this year, we go back to A, which is why Amendment Z shows up on your ballot before Amendment A. Amendment numbers go from 0 to 99 before starting over. This year, we're up to 75. Propositions go 100 to 199 before starting over. This year, we're up to 112. But why not let the numbers run forever?
We would eventually have, initiative 8,912. It's not catchy. Vote yes on 8,912. Just doesn't work.
For Next with Kyle Clark, I'm Marshall Zellinger.
Marshall's run by that garage for a long time. He's always wanted to use it in a story. So you'll notice the different numbers and letters for city and county issues. For instance, anything in the 200s, that's a county issue. If it's a 3 followed by a letter, then you're looking at a school district issue. And completely unrelated, but just because that is an awesome garage with the letters, Marshall tells me that it has been used for 3 marriage proposals. Denver these days is dotted with scooters, and there are more coming still. Denver Public Works told us there are about 1,050 scooters on the streets now. They're out there from Lime and Bird and Lyft, and here comes Razor with another 350 by tomorrow night. We've been telling you how the Bird scooters have this label that tells you don't ride on the sidewalks, but the sidewalk is the only place you can legally ride in Denver. We asked Denver Public Works if Bird has fixed that issue, and they told us they continue to ask Bird to address it, which is a polite way of saying, no, Bird doesn't care. Lime also had incorrect instructions on the scooters, though Public Works told us they've actually been responsive. They're going to be fixing all those by the end of today.
Our next question comes from a viewer named Ed, wondering what happened to the wonderful lights on the light rail bridge over 6th Avenue at Union. When the W line first opened, this bridge was lit with beautiful LED lights, Ed wrote. It has not been lit for over 1 year. What do we have to do to get our bridge relit in Lakewood?
All right, so Ed in Lakewood wants to get lit tonight or tomorrow night, or really just as soon as possible. Here is the deal, Ed. RTD told us, yes, they know they have ongoing issues with the lights for more than 5 years. They're looking for some kind of an upgrade that will be more reliable. And if you know anything about RTD and upgrades for reliability, hope and pray it happens while we're both still on this earth, Ed. But RTD did commit that they will make an announcement when they know that the bridge will be lit once more. Hey, did anybody else watch the Broncos game last night? See one fan in particular and think, oh man, that's not how you Colorado. I hesitate to show this guy's face again, but he was already on national television, and that's why his behavior has created such a conversation. I'm talking about the dude who greeted the Chiefs' Kareem Hunt after a touchdown in a moment when we knew the cameras would be on him, waving a middle finger and yelling the F word. You expect that in Oakland. You expect that in Philly. Is that really what Denver sports fans are about, though? Here's the deal. I am no Puritan. I have been known to display the single finger salute. I also believe that profanity, like seasoning, adds spice where appropriate. But making your national television debut with the finger and the F word, that's a bad look for Colorado. I'm sure that guy is a nice man, but he represented all Broncos fans in that moment, and we could have used just a little more class. If you are catching next before you flip over for most of the Rockies wild card game tonight, first off, thank you. And secondly, promise to keep you updated here, middle and bottom of every inning and every time the score changes. Updates here because we are a full-service information operation.
Denver Public Schools are like, hey kids, before you leave, how about spending the rest of your life in the classroom?
There's such a huge need.
And Steamboat Springs gets put on the map for a new reason. That's next.
Triceps popping.
Fitness is everything.
I know, my biceps.
To Angela Marquez. She squeezes in a workout every day
And always makes time for a gym pic.
Post at PR Fitness Studio,
which is posted to Instagram in no time.
You'll see a lot of workout pictures here.
She isn't showing off.
This was also my cancer anniversary.
She's sharing survival.
I also look at it as I'm alive, because that was 11 years ago that day.
The day Angela learned she had cervical cancer, doctors removed lymph nodes in her pelvis to save her life.
I survived cancer. I beat cancer, and now I have this.
This is her new battle.
Yes, it is in my left leg.
The left leg is much bigger than the right.
One Olga Belskaya fights too.
It's an ongoing battle.
They both suffer from lymphedema.
It feels heavy.
A debilitating condition.
Oh my goodness.
That lasts a lifetime.
Lymphedema is the abnormal accumulation of protein in the tissues, so the area underneath the skin and above our muscles.
Angela and Olga are treated by Vicki Ralph, a woman who is dedicated to treatment and awareness.
I do about 45 minutes of stretching of the skin.
An occupational therapist at UC Health.
This is short stretch compression bandaging.
Some people are born with lymphedema, but for many, like Olga, the condition is triggered after lymph nodes are surgically removed to treat cancer.
You have kind of, if you will, a mechanical failure of that section of the body.
This chronic condition chips away at her sense of normalcy.
It's full of liquid and your shoes doesn't fit, your clothes doesn't fit, and you just don't want to deal with it anymore.
That's why Angela's Instagram feed,
the Instagram page, is Funky Lymphedema,
has a deeper purpose.
That's my leg.
It informs, it inspires.
We call it the mini incline.
Those who search for answers.
I want to change the image of the pictures maybe that they see when they do Google lymphedema and feel that it's gloom and doom and negative.
I used to never really talk, ever. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. It helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
It's completely fine to hear something you don't agree with and say, yeah, I still think the exact same thing. Test your own beliefs. We also want Next to be a reflection of you watching at home.
Colorado, we love you. You can have a day like this with sunshine, 80 degrees. You can see the first freeze, the first frost, the first snow. And the weather just gets a little weird in October. We're going to go from 80 to the 40s early next week, and Denver has a shot at seeing a rain-snow mix, but not tonight. Showers coming through are isolated in nature. There's a better chance of heavy rain tomorrow night. There's a little upper air disturbance kind of coming through on the southwest flow. Southwestern Colorado under extreme drought scenario conditions is seeing some beneficial rain 2, 3, 4 days in a row. All that heavy weather will impact travel on I-70, but very little in the way of shower activity that makes it across the Continental Divide into Denver until tomorrow night. Tomorrow night into Thursday, we've got a good shot at those showers. So tomorrow will be sunny and warmer, basically dry with showers west of the Continental Divide, and chilly temperatures way up high as well. Partly cloudy, 56 in the city tonight. Tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny, low 80s. Tomorrow night, rain could be heavy at times into Thursday morning. A cooling trend Friday. Cool for the weekend, unsettled, chance for showers each day. It's Monday night into Tuesday. We could see a rain-snow mix, highs in the 40s and 50s. But those leaves are hanging on. Beautiful shot from Paloma Lair up at Gore Pass today.
Kathy, thank you. 0-0 Rockies and Cubs, top of the first. Denver Public Schools will admit it has trouble recruiting and retaining minority and male teachers. That is certainly not just a DPS problem. But as DPS was thinking about how to make its teachers look more like the students in class, well, they realized the solution was sitting right in front of them. Here's Byron Reed.
Okay, we're going to separate the words and the equations.
Vanessa Contreras Gomez likes being prepared.
And it betters our future, so if we pass this, then we have more of a chance to passing the test itself.
She's a senior at CEC Early College of Denver and hopes to attend the University of Northern Colorado after she graduates.
They have a really good teaching program, and that's kind of where my heart is. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Contreras Gomez says it's important for her to become an educator to address an issue she experienced in the Denver public school system.
And having teachers that aren't of color, they don't understand anything that we're going through. It's harder on us as a student to keep learning and keep wanting to come back to class if we're not really engaged in coming in class.
So she decided to sign up for the district's Ed Connect program that gives student teaching opportunities to 9th to 12th grade DPS students who are interested in becoming educators.
They are working for 100 hours in the semester where they are taking what they've learned in the classroom and then connecting that in the real world.
It's really, really important to me that a student has someone like of their culture or like someone that can understand them more or relate to them.
So diferente. The high schoolers work alongside current DPS teachers in the classroom. The district started the program last year to build a student-to-teacher pipeline to help fill a void of minority and male teachers in the district.
Now I'm more motivated to like, okay, if I'm changing these kids' lives right now, imagine what I could do 10 years down the line.
DPS hopes these high school students can help in the classroom now to become their teachers of tomorrow.
Even if you don't think of it, you are making a change.
For Next, I'm Byron Reed.
The district's teaching assistant internships, they're open to juniors and seniors, and those students are paid $1,100 for the semester. That money comes out of DPS Foundation funds. You have asked us to spend more time in Colorado's out-of-the-way places. So let's go to Steamboat and meet a man who is exploring our state in a way that few of us ever will.
Yeah, without communities like this, it would be a heck of a lot tougher.
That's next. People don't always believe this, but I'm allowed to speak my mind on this show, and I'm allowed to showcase your thoughtful perspectives, even if the bosses don't agree with them. That really does happen here. That's the strength of Next. It's important to hear things that we disagree with because, lo and behold, we might change our minds. We also want Next to be a reflection of you watching at home. You're smart, funny, and you're unapologetically honest, even when it gets you in trouble. And that's what we hope that the show is as well.
I identify as Panamanian and African American, but at the end of the day, I'm just human.
I identify as the Latina Asian.
I identify as Puerto Rican and Mexican.
I identify as a Chicana.
I identify as Mexican American.
I identify as Colombian American.
I identify myself as Honduran.
I identify as Mexican American.
And I identify as Salvadorian.
I identify as Colombian Palestinian.
I identify as Chicana.
At the end of the day.
But at the end of the day.
I am just human.
Which one of you is horny?
How did I get here?
My mom was horrible and drove me to drink, which led to drugs.
Remember me?
But I cleaned up my act.
Wish I hadn't spit in his latte.
For that glamorous...
You look like a slutty highlighter.
Single mom life.
Why aren't you wearing pants? I was relaxing.
And now I'm back here, living with my mom.
That changes everything. You deserve a cupcake.
5 nights a week on Channel 20.
When your curiosity needs answers, turn to the all-new TV network, Quest. Featuring the most scientific, scary, entertaining, and thrilling programs available on television. Like Modern Marvels and Storm Chasers. Stay tuned for your next adventure on Channel 9.5, and let's explore.
There have been frightening things in the news lately, familiar things for many Coloradans. Check in with your family and friends. If you or someone you know needs mental health support or emotional help, it's available right this second. A real person ready to provide real problem solving. Call or text Colorado Crisis Services. Let's take care of ourselves and each other.
It's flu season. Protect your family. Find a 9 Health Fair near you and get a voucher for a free, convenient flu shot. You can also donate to provide a flu shot for a neighbor in need. Help your community stay healthy. For details, go to 9healthfair.org.
It is a sign. It is a brand new sign outside Steamboat Springs along the Continental Divide Trail. A sign installed at Buffalo Pass to welcome Steamboat Springs as a gateway community to the CDT, the Continental Divide Trail. It's a recognition to communities that step up to support the trail and the people who hike it. It's a select group of cities. Steamboat joins South Fork, Salida, Grand Lake, and Pagosa Springs.
It's definitely a point of pride, yeah. For locals, it's the Divide Trail, it's the 1101 Trail. We're all used to it, we use it a lot, but we also recognize that it's bigger than just Steamboat Springs. It's from Canada to Mexico, so it's a much bigger thing than us, and It's a source of local pride, but it also connects us to a much broader community.
That it is, by the way, 1-0 Rockies, top of the first. So the Continental Divide Trail runs from Mexico to Canada, passing through the U.S. of A. along the way. And the hikers, they're always looking for trailside towns, place to rest, to refill supplies, to grab a shower, maybe a hot meal on their long journey. We found Larry Ma this morning in Steamboat. Alongside the road, a guy just looking to make his way.
Time can pass slowly, especially if you're wearing Larry Ma's shoes. He's patiently waiting,
Just over an hour.
hoping for a ride.
I mean, the longest wait I've had was actually at the Canadian border. It took 3.5 hours to get a ride.
Larry's through hiking the Continental Divide Trail. In 1980, he through hiked the Pacific Crest Trail.
And next year I'm going to hike the Appalachian Trail, AT. Well, a lot of people, even some of the people that pick me up, doesn't know what does CDT stand for. I said, you live right along the Continental Divide Trail, you know, so anyway.
On trail, he's known as Lost Larry. Off trail, he spent 33 years as an electrical engineer for Boeing.
So I retired early 4 years ago, and I've been traveling around the world as much as 9.5 months out of the year.
So he's here in Steamboat Springs, the newest gateway community to the CDT.
Yeah, without communities like this, it would be a heck of a lot tougher.
These are communities that support the trail and support people like Larry.
Yeah, I was a dirtbagger in 1980. I didn't spend a single penny on lodging. I'm up to like about $1,400 now on this trip.
He came to Steamboat Springs to rest.
It's been
now he's headed back.
An hour and a half, and I still don't have a ride here. Ooh, wow.
Larry Ma has been lost before.
Oh, wow.
Luckily for Larry, he's in a town where he doesn't feel so lost.
You gonna give me a ride to the... Oh, wow.
For Next, I'm Chris Hansen.
All right, before the concerned emails roll in, we here at Next are not endorsing hitchhiking. We are endorsing people making their own choices in life, though. So speaking of choices, last night here, Next producer Carrie made quite the unfortunate decision to play a 10-year-old clip of me as a young reporter talking about the Rockies. A Next viewer looked up at that old story and said, hey, that's me in the background shouting like a fool. We'll check in with where he is today next.
Justice is here. If you haven't tuned in to the Justice Network, then you're missing a program lineup dedicated to stories of true crime and investigation.
No one vanishes without a trace.
Quality series rich in suspense, mystery, and intrigue.
Put your hands above your head. Back up.
Plus, a public safety initiative to make your community safer.
Join me, John Walsh, on the all-new Justice Network.
The Broncos Huddle. Wednesday nights at 6:30 on 9 News.
Okay, no problem. Everybody follow me.
Get ready for a gnarly ride. This dude rips.
I'm Jacques Houot. They call me Frenchie. I am 41 years old, each leg, equal 82.
82 years old, as Jacques keeps moving. Sure, he can ride, but his charisma is what got the attention of Carbondale filmmaker Michelle Smith.
Oh, I love Michelle. Too bad she's married.
5 Point Film Festival's Night of Stoke is the kind of evening you rock chacos instead of heels. Jacques,
the love of your life.
Michelle, and Jacques' new friend are in the house for a screening of Michelle's film, The French, a tale too big for one person to tell.
You know, you meet somebody like that, and it's like, I'm not afraid to get old.
For that, I'm glad I motivate people to keep moving.
It's
to know the Johnsons 5 nights a week.
How about I give you $100?
No, 200, and you agree not to have any more children.
Okay, that's a decision I have. No.
A traditional family.
I'm here to help.
You're not Mom.
Where's Mom?
And an unconventional comedy.
I think you look good for your age, Dad.
40's not bad, right?
You're only 40? Good Lord, you've lived a hard life.
Weekdays starting at 5 p.m. on Channel 20.
Corporal O'Reilly goes by many names.
Big Daddy O'Reilly.
Big Daddy, just play the records.
I'm Walter O'Radar. No, I mean, I'm Walter O'Reilly.
But to us, he'll always be...
Radar! Radar!
They call me Radar. Only that's not my real name. They just use it like it was.
Radar, radar, radar. Here's to you, Radar. One of a kind.
Radar? That's me.
Watch Radar.
Where?
MASH, weeknights starting at 6 on MeTV.
Last night we showed you a kid's cart taking up 2 parking spaces, and today an even more miniature version of You've Crossed a Line. Next viewer named John looked very, very closely to see this violation in a model railroad exhibit at the Greeley Train Museum. That is funny, although John, you probably could have just fixed it. Pick up the car and slide it over. I love that people are getting creative with this now. Keep the emails coming. Next at 9news.com. or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext. Speaking of HeyNext, last night we aired a story I did 11 years ago about the Rockies trademarking Rocktober. That guy was in the piece, and he was watching last night. That is Bob. Bob and his wife Marty watch Next every night, and they looked up and they said, hey, look who that is. Bob is still a Rockies fan, as you can see. They live about 5 blocks from Coors Field, and they must be loving what they see tonight. 1-0 Rockies, bottom of the first in Chicago. Jeanette writes in about the Denver Zoo losing its polar bears. They're being split up to different zoos. She says, sad enough they're leaving, but splitting up is heartbreaking. Jeanette, they're getting split up because they refuse to breed with each other, so maybe they think that it's time to see other bears. And Sherry says, Kyle, you know the Chiefs players were taunting the crowd, right? Yeah, and I wish that we wouldn't have responded with the middle finger and the F word. You know, show some class. See you next time. Subscribe to the Next YouTube channel and I'll buy you a beer. Am I actually buying them a beer? This could be a very poor idea. We need some terms and conditions. Offer subject to terms and conditions.